Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karunya Gana Ganatam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Prapta Sakalyana Gunanavasya Vande Guru Shri Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Baditramadhyam Manasura Sena Romanchakam Pasru Tarangavajo Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shringara Tanama Diramarjanado Juktasya bhaktamsya niyonjatopi Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Chaturvedha Shri Bhagavat Prasada Satvana Truptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kridvaiva Trupti Bhajata Shadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Shiradikama Tabayarapara Madhurya Leela Gunarupanam Shri Pratikshana Swa Dhanalalupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam Nikunja Yuno Ratikiri Siddhai Jayali Vir Jukti Apekshaniya Tatrati dakshar ativala vasya Bande gurashi charanara vrindam Sakchadhari dvena Shamasta shashre Ruktastathava Bhataiva sarve Kintu prabhaja Priya eva tasya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kutapi Yasya Prasadam Dhyayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatri Sandhya Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Vande Gurashi Charanara Vrindam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Nama Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nibhishesha Shunyavadi Pachata Deshata Dine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Yadaye Namah, Krishna Jadavaye Namah, Jadavaye Madhavaye Kesavaye Namah, Gopal Govinda Ram Simadhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Moham, Shri Chaitanya Nityananda, Shri Advaita Sita, Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhattaraguna, Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasaraguna, Shri Radha Nilamadhava Radhe, Jayo Jagannatha, Jayo Baladeva, Subhadrama, Jayo Sudarshan Chakra, Jaya Sitaram, Jayo Sitaram, Jayo Lakshman Hanuman, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj. Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo, Haribo, Nitai Gaur Premanande Haribo. Jai Vishwapara Paramsa Prabhajakacharya Astuttara Sarasishya Maharaj Vani Grace Abhayachar Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Pratishta Viviti Samstha Vakachara Vaishnava Siromani Patita Pavana Srila Prabhupada Ji Maharaj Ki Jai Shri Gauriya Guru Varga Patita Udhara Ki Jai Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Guna Sadguru Swami Prabhu Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ji Ki Jai Ananta Kuti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्तवृंद की जय जय परम दयाल से नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रभु नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिनंदन श्रीमन गौरंग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गौर हरि महावृणावतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधानी नाम संकीर्तन जय की जय जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहदांग ट्रांसनेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ राधा कुंज श्याम कुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय शिव जबुम वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की जय तेलोशिव श्री श्री राधा नील माधव की जय श्री श्री मायपुर नवद्वीप एक चक्र धाम की जय परम करुण श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय सीताराम लक्ष्मण भक्त हनुमान जी की जय भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशना कर सिंहरे भगवान की जय जगंगा माय जमुना माय की जय तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी भक्ति देवी की जय श्री मथुरा दारानी की जय समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय ग्रंथराज भगवत महापुराण की जय निताय गौरी प्रमानंदी all glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to the assembly bodies, all glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gaurang. Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya
Namaste Narasimhaya Jaya Kesavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Jai Jagadish Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Shatavataye Namo Namaha Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha Vrindaye Tulasi Devai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi Satavataye Namo Namaha Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna
Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Eya Vilasi Radha Krishna Seva Prabhu Aminayane Devo Sada Jugalaru Parasi
Eini Vedana Dhara Sakhiranu Gata Kara
Eini Vedana Dhara Sakhiranu Gata Kara
Sevadikaro Diye Kara Nijadasi
Sevayari Kara Diye Kara Nijadasi
Dina Krishna Das Kaye Jena Moro Hoy
Dina Krishna Das Kaye Jena Moro
Shri Radha Govinda Preme Sada Jena Basi
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 Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Yani Jani Tapa Pani Brahma Tyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranasyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Kani Kani Sapa Kani Brahma Tari Kani Sa Kani Kani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pade Pade
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Tyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranasyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Kani Kani Sapa Kani Brahma Tari Kani Sa Kani Kani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pade Pade
Yani Kani Cha Papani Brahma Tyadikani Cha Tani Tani Pranasyanti Pradakshina Pade Pade
Kani Kani Sapa Kani Brahma Tari Kani Sa Kani Kani Prana Santi Pradakshina Pade Pade
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
वृंदा देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय।
Jai. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Devai, Priyaye Kesava Satya, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi, Satavataye Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai, Priyaye Kesava Satya, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi, Satavataye Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai, Priyaye Kesava Satya, Vishnu Bhakti Prade Devi, Satavataye Namaha. Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. O Tulsi, beloved Krishna, I bow before you again and again. My desire to obtain the service of Shri Radha and Krishna. Whoever takes shelter of his wishes fulfilled, bestow your mercy upon him, you make him resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also give me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision, I would always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower with hymns as of verse. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna prays. May I always sing love Shri Radha and go with Shrimati Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshastakam ki jai. Jai Ho Sun Kirtana, which cleanses the heart with the dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life with repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan means the prime benediction for humanity at large, for it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully test the nectar for which all promises. Oh my Lord, your holy name alone can reign the whole benediction of living things. And thus we want to blend the name of Krishna and all these manifest all transcendental natures. And then we will find the fast for the Chinese names. Oh my Lord, out of kindness, enable us to easily approach by holy names. Those who are unfortunate have no attraction for them. Want you to chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. Then you want to serve the Lord with strong spirit. Want you to hold throne in the tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. I should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. Only one your cause of devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharshi Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, some or other will fall in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the adults of your lotus feet. O my Lord, with my eyes particularly with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name. Only my voice choke up, only the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name. O Govinda, feeling your suppression and consider a moment like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from eyes like torrents of rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and sure remain so. Even if sun doesn't roughly makes them dress, or makes me broken hearted when I don't feel present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything. He's always worship from Lord unconditioned. Shri Shishika Stakam Ki Jai. Death and offenses about chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blaspheme and avoid dedicated life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. Consider names demigods and Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma to be put to independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. Disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. Blaspheme the Vedic literature or literatures and pursues Vedic version. 5. Demonstrate the blood of chanting Hare Krishna to the imagination. 6. Give some interpretation of the holy name of the Lord. 7. Commit simple activities on strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. Consider the chanting Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are offered various as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. Instruct the faithless person in the glories of holy name. And 10. Do not have complete faith in chanting the holy names and to maintain material attachments, even not understanding so many instructions in this matter. It also an offense being attentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must carefully guard against 10 offenses in order to be achieve the desired success Krishna praying. Now let us offer our most humble obeisance unto all the Vaishnavas who worship the Lord. They are just like the servitude that can fulfill the desire of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen and penitent souls.
Tene Brahma Hirdaya Adikavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Medam Yata Vinimaya Yatratri Sargo Misha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuvakam Satyam Param Dhimahi O my Lord Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. And he is independent because there is no other cause behind him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen on fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Dharma projita kaito votra, paramoni matsaranam satam, vedyam vastavam atra vastu, shivadam tapa trayon mulanam, Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite, Kim va Purer Ishwaraha, Sadyo Hridaya Varutyate Tra, Kriti Bihi Sususubhistakshanat. Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in its maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam, sukhamukad amrita dravya samyatam, pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam, muhur aho rasika bhuvibhavakaha. O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire to read Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of C. Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful. Although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hiryantak Stohi Bhadrani Vidunoti Srihitsatam. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best-wishing friend and purifies the devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. Nasta prayesu badresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati tamasloke bhaktir bhavati naistike. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. Tadarajas tamo bhava kamalobadayas chaye chete taranavidam Stitvam Sattve Prasiddhati. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lust and avarice are diminished. Evam prasana manasu Bhagavat Bhakti Yogataha Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Jayate. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Vidyate Hridaya Grantis Chidyante Sarva Samsaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drishta Evat Manishware. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of a samsayam samagram, understanding of the supreme absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Shri Guru Vastika prayers ki jai. The spiritual master is receiving benediction from the ocean of mercy, just as a cloud pours water on a forest fire to extinguish it. So the spiritual master delivers the materially afflicted world by extinguishing the blazing fire of material existence. I, for my respectful basis unto Lotus Street, is such a spiritual master who is an ocean of auspicious qualities. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments. The spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind. Sometimes his hair stands on end. He feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments, clean their temple, and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food. Analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavat Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance at the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava. And their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he is expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he is the most confidential servitor of the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Sri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master. At least 3 times a day, I should offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master. Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai, Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchitananda Vigraha Anadiraja Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. Chintamani Prakara Satmasukalpa Vriksha Lakshavrite Susurabi Rabipaliantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasambrahma Sevyamanam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Venam Kwananta Aravinda Dalaytaksham Barhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Visesa Sobham Kandarpakoti Kamaniya Visesa Sobham Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gana Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribanga Lalitani Yata Prakasam Ratnam Gadam Pranaya Keli Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendra Vritti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Pasyanti Panti Kalyanti Chiram Jaganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadujvala Vigrahasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purisham Navayovanam Cha Vedesa Durlabham Adurlabham Atma Bhakto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Pantastu Koti Satavatsara Sampragamyo Vayoratapi Manaso Munipungamanam Sopyasti Yat Prapadasimya Vichintya Tattve Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ekopya Sora Chaitum Jagadanda Kotyam Yas Chakti Rasti Jagadanda Chaya Yadanta Andanta Rasta Paramanu Chayantarastam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yad Bhava Bhavita Diyo Manajasta Taiva Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Samprapya Rupa Mahima Sanayana Bhusaha Suktar Yameva Nigama Pratitaistuvanti Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Patibhavitabhis Tabirya Eva Nijarupa Tayakalabi Goloka Eva Nivasat Goloka Eva Nivasat Akilatma Bhuto Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksa Deva Hidayesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ramadi Murti Sukalani Amenatistan Nana Avatara Makarod Bhuvane Sukintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumam Yo Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Kotisvasesu Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahma Niskalam Anantam Tad Nam Niskalam Anantam Ashesha Bhutam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Maya Hiyasya Jagadanda Satani Sute Targunyatad Vishayaveda Vitayamanam Sattva Valambi Parasattvam Visuddha Sattvam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Manasu Ya Praninam Pratifalam Sparatam Upetya Lila Yatena Bhuvanani Jayat Jayastram Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Talechatasya Devi Mahesa Haridama Sute Devi Mahesa Haridama Sute Sute Su Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vitasya Te Te Prabhava Nichaya Vitasya Yena Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shisti Stati Pralaya Sadhava Saktireka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichanu Rupam Apiyasya Chachesta Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Dadi Vikara Visesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritagasti Hetoho Yasambutam Apitata Samupaiti Karya Govindamadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Viparchir Eva Hitasantaram Abhyupetya Dipayate Vivitahetu Samanu Dharma Chanarupam Yastadrik Eva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Yastadrik Eva Hicha Vishnu Taya Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidram Ananta Jagadanda Saromukupaha Adhara Shaktim Avalambya Paramsma Murtim Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasitakala Matavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagadanda Nataha Vishnu Mahansa Hiyasya Kala Visesho Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basman Yatasma Sakalesu Najesu Tejaha Swiyam Kiyat Prakatiyat Apitadvatatra Brahmaya Esa Jagadanda Vidana Karta Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palavi Yugam Vinidaya Kumbha Dvandve Pranama Samayesab Ganadi Raja Vignan Vihantam Alamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahi Gaganamambu Maruti Sascha Kalastatatma Manasiti Jagatrayan Kalastatatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Amcha Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakshak Suresa Savita Sakala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Raja Samasta Suramurti Rasesa Tejaha Yasya Gaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Madi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmo Tapapa Nichaya Shrutayas Tapamsi Brahma Dikita Patagava Yadayascha Jivaha Patagava Dayas Yadata matra vibhava prakata prabhava. Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami. Yastrindra gopam atavendra mahosva karma. Bandhan rupa falabhajana. Bandhan rupa falabhajana matanoti. Karmani nirdahati kintu bhakti bhajam. Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami. Yam krodha kama sahaja pranayadi bitti. Vatsalya moha guru gora vasevya. Vatsalya moha guru gora vasevya bhavahai. Sanchitya tasya sadrisim tanamapurete. Govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami. Shriya kanta kanta parama purusha kalpataravu. Druma bhumish chintamani ganamayi toyamamritam. Kata ganam natyam gamanam apivamsi priyasaki. Chid anandam jyoti param apitad asvadya apicha. Sayatra shiradibhi shabati shirabibhyascha sumahan. Nime sardakyuva rajati nahi yatrapi samaya. Bhaje svita dvipam tamaham iha golakam ityam. Vidantas te santak shriti viralat charat katipaye. Shri Shupanashad ki jai. Om Purnam Ada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Isha Vaishyamidam Sarvam Jatkinja Jagatyam Jagat Tena Taktena Bunjitaha Magritaha Krisasviddanam. Kurvanevaha karmani jajiva chekchatam samaha evam tvayi nanyatetusti na karma lipite nare. Asurya namate loka andena tamasavritaha tamste pritya bhikachanti yeke chatma hano janaha. Anichalika manaso javyo nena devam apavam pavam asad tad davato jnana teti tistat tasmila pumata visvadadati. Tadi jati ta nejati ta dure ta advantike ta dantarasya sarvasya ta adu sarvasya syabhayataha. Tu yastu sarvani bhutani atmani evanupasyate sarvabhute sujatmanam tatuna vichigupsate. Yastu sarvani. Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmeva budvijanataha tatrako mahakaha sukha ekadvam anupasyataha. Sa prayagachukam abranam asnaviram sudam apavavidam kavi marisi paribu swayambhu yatatat yatoratan vyadadach jasvatipyaha samabhyaha. Andam tamaha pravisanti. Ye vidyam upasyate tato bhuyayavate tamo yayu vidyayam rataha. Anyad evhur vidyaya anyadahur vidyaya iti susrumadhiranam yenastad vichachakshire. Vidyam cha yasyastad vedobhayam saha avidyaya militum tidva vidyayam ritamastute. Andam tamaha pravishyanti ye sambhutim upasyate tato bhuya vitete tamo yayu sambhutam rataha. Anya devahur sambhavat anya dahur sambhavat iti susrumadiranam yenastad vichachakside sambhutim chavinasam chayastad virabhayam vinasanim Sambhutim cha vinasam cha yastad vedobhayam saha vinasena militum tidva sambhutam ritamasnute. Hiranmayana patrena satyasya pietam mukam tatvam pusamapavrinu satyadharmaya drishtaye. Pusane kase yamasuya prajapatya vyuharasmin samahate jo yate rupam kalyanatamam tate pasyami yosavaso purushaha sohamasmi. Vayur anilam Amritam atedam basmantam sarinam om kratus smara kritam smara kratus smara kritam smara Vayur anilam amritam. Om Agninaya Supatara Yasman Vishwani Deva Vayunani Vidvan Yo Dajmas Juhuranamino Puyastam Te Nama Uktim Vedema Om Tatsat. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 16. Shudva Haristam Anartinam Aprameyas. Chakrai Udapatagaraja Bhuja Diraudaha. Chakrena Nakra Vadanam Vinipat Patyatasmat Daste Pragridya Bhagavan Kripa Yojahara. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. The personality of Godhead, after hearing the elephant's plea, felt that the elephant needed his immediate help, for he was in great distress. Thus, at once, the Lord appeared there on the wings of the king of birds, Garuda, fully equipped with his weapon, the wheel, Chakra. With the wheel, he cut to pieces the mouth of the crocodile to save the elephant, and he delivered the elephant by lifting him by his trunk. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The Lord resides in his Vaikuntha planet. No one can estimate how far away this planet is situated. It is said, however, that anyone trying to reach that planet by airships or by mind ships, traveling for millions of years, will find it still unknown. Modern scientists have invented airships which are material, and the yogis make a still finer material attempt to travel by mind ships. The yogis can reach any distant place very quickly with the help of mind ships, but neither the airship nor the mind ship has access to the kingdom of God in the Vaikuntha Loka, situated far beyond the material sky. Since this is the situation, how was it possible for the prayers of the elephant to be heard from such an unlimitedly distant place? And how could the Lord at once appear on the spot? These things cannot be calculated by human imagination. All this was possible by the unlimited power of the Lord, and therefore the Lord is described here as aprameya, for not even the best human brain can estimate his powers and potencies by mathematical calculation. The Lord can hear from such a distant place, he can eat from there, and he can appear simultaneously in all places at a moment's notice. Such is the omnipotency of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The personality Godhead, after hearing the elephant's plea, felt that the elephant needed his immediate help, for he was in great distress. Thus at once the Lord appeared there on the wings of the king of birds, Garuda, fully equipped with his weapon, the wheel or chakra. With the wheel he cut to pieces the mouth of the crocodile to save the elephant, and he delivered the elephant by lifting him by the trunk. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaura Premanandi, Haribol. So this is further explained in the 8th canto, 3rd chapter. And first, the 8th canto, 3rd chapter, verse number 1 says, Sri Sukadeva Goswami continued, Thereafter, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, fixed his mind in his heart with perfect intelligence and chanted a mantra which he had learned in his previous birth as Indradumna, and which he remembered by the grace of Krishna. Now, this is an amazing statement. In other words, King Indradumna takes birth as an elephant, and king of a troop of elephants, and he's enjoying with all his wives, and he finds this river, and he goes into the river enjoying taking a bath, and this crocodile comes, this gigantic crocodile, and bites his leg and won't let go for anything. And because the elephant on land would be able to easily defeat the crocodile, in the water the crocodile is stronger than the elephant. Now this is a very significant statement, because Prabhupada explains this later on. He says that every devotee should function within his own environment or element. There's such a thing as Prabhudatta Desh. That means the place where you feel very comfortable preaching. So the Prabhudatta Desh for the elephant is on land. That's where he feels comfortable, and he is more or less invincible. It's very difficult to defeat an elephant. Even tigers and lions have difficulty defeating an elephant on land. But in the water, the crocodile is in his Prabhudatta Desh, the place where he's comfortable and well situated and well adapted to be almost invincible. And therefore, although the elephant is almost invincible on land, in the water the crocodile is almost invincible. And therefore the elephant was not able to free himself of the crocodile. And the longer he fought, the weaker he became. And the longer the crocodile fought, the stronger he became. So it was a very dire situation for the elephant, for Gajendra. Well, Prabhupada explains that we should find a situation in which we feel a little bit comfortable and feels natural for us, and practice Krishna consciousness. And that way, we develop strength over time. But if we put ourselves in a place where we really don't feel comfortable at all, and it doesn't feel, let's say, that it is a place where one can really make sustainable progress, then one should not stay there. One must be functioning in this element. Now, a devotee can go anywhere and make anywhere a suitable place, because the devotee is not attached to the body, nor is he attached to a comfort zone, right? So, therefore, a devotee can make spiritual progress anywhere. But sometimes a certain place may be very uninviting for a devotee. Like, for example, if a devotee goes to a war zone and people are shooting each other all the time and bombs are falling down, that's not a place where you can make sustainable spiritual advancement. But when you go to some place that's peaceful and there are no, let's say, no war going on, then it's a little more amenable, or a little more propitious for making spiritual advancement. So one should try and stay in his element, or in his place where he or she can make spiritual advancement. Just like this temple, people move in the neighborhood so they can come regularly. I know one devotee, he was living in Bellevue, and he wasn't able to come all the time. So he made a decision to move to Sammamish. And when he moved to Sammamish, he came fewer times than when he lived in Bellevue. So why the heck did he move to Sammamish then? Better he stayed in Bellevue, because he was coming more times from Bellevue than he was from Sammamish. So that doesn't make sense, right? Why would he spend that extra money and move here and then come less than when he did when he lived in Bellevue? So these funny things happen. But the idea is that everything is available more easily if you live near the temple. If you want that, of course. I mean, there are Indians that live in this neighborhood who never come to the temple. They're not devotees, but they never, or maybe once in a year, like for Janmashtami, they might come for a few minutes and then run out as fast as possible. So we should stay in a place where it's very easy for us to be Krishna conscious, right? Like, for example, let's say you're living in some neighborhood in Mumbai. Well, I remember one of the times I went to Mumbai, to go from one place to another, it took me 3 hours. You know, there was so much traffic and congestion, you know, and I was thinking to myself, wow, this is crazy, you know. So sometimes people have to travel 2 or 3 hours, even though they don't live that far away from the temple, because of the traffic and the what you would call complete blockage of traveling. So we should live in a place where it's relatively easy to come to the temple and take advantage of the regular darshans and classes and all these things, because we're going to hear something now that's extremely important, and it's shocking in these purports about Gajendra. So it says here, it is assured that if a person engaged in devotional service falls down, he is not degraded, but is placed in a position in which he will, in due course of time, remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As explained later, so this is verses Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 6, verse 43 and 44. So let's say you die not completing Krishna consciousness, and you made some kind of mistake. It could have been a serious mistake also. In the next life, you'll take birth in such a way that you'll be, over time, able to remember Krishna again. As explained later, Gajendra was formerly King Indradyumna, and somehow or other in his next life, he became king of the elephants. Now Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in his previous life. Now he's in an animal body, and because he was a devotee previously, he was able to remember in the animal body this prayer that he used to say regularly when he was a devotee in a human body. This is unbelievable, right? This is amazing. And this is the mercy of the Lord. Now Gajendra was in danger, and although he was in a body other than that of a human being, he remembered the stotra he had chanted in his previous life. Yatate cha tato bhuya samsido kurunandana. To enable one to achieve perfection, Krishna gives one the chance to remember him again. This is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities so that he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, therefore, it says that Vishaya Vinivartante Nirharasya Hina Rasavarajam Rasapiyasya Param Drisva Nivartate. So, no, I'm sorry, that's not the one. It says in the second chapter, verse number, 40. Nihabhikramanastus pratijayana vidyate swapamapi asya dharmasya chayate mahato bayat. So it says, in this endeavor, that is engaging in devotional service, there is no loss or diminution. And a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Well, the most dangerous type of fear is, once being a human being, you're put back into the animal world, or the insect world, or the bird world, or the aquatic world, or the reptile world. That is really fearful and shocking and horrible, right? But here it says that even though it's something like that may happen, like in the case of King Indradumna, he became an elephant the next night, Krishna will help you remember, even though you're in that animal body or insect body, remember who you were or what you were and what you knew before. At least you'll be able to repeat some prayers that you knew before in the human body. So this is proved here, for although the king of the elephants, Gajendra, was put in danger, this was a chance for him to remember his previous devotional activities so that he could immediately be rescued by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that means that you are never a loser if you engage in Krishna consciousness. You're never a loser. You're only a winner. There's nothing else like that in this world. Therefore, there was this one French philosopher whose name was, let's see, his name was, anyway, he was very intelligent person. So he said, Krishna conscious. He said this belief in God is like flipping a coin. When you flip a coin, it can be either heads or tails, right? So he said, if you don't believe in God, then the chance that God exists is 50-50, right? So, if you don't believe in God, then you'll live a life full of sins. And when you die, if there's no God, then you didn't live such a good life. And then when you die, there's nothing. So you're only a one-time loser that way. I mean, no, you're a two-time loser because you lived sinfully, and when you died, there was nothing. So you lost twice. But if you're a devotee, or if you believe in God, then you follow the rules, and you live a relatively good life. And when you die, if there's no God, you're a one-time winner. But if there is God, you're a two-time winner. So therefore, if you're an atheist, you're a two-time loser. If there's no God. And if there is a God, you're a one-time loser, right? And if you're a devotee, you're a one-time winner. And if there's no God, at least you're a one-time winner, right? But if there is a God, you're a two-time winner. So he said the odds are in your favor to believe in God. You see how smart he was? His name was Blaise Pascal. He was a French philosopher, and he was a very smart guy. He figured it out that you're going to be a two-time winner if God exists, and if God doesn't exist, you're a one-time winner. But if you're an atheist, you're going to be a two-time loser, right? So, therefore, here we can see why it says that. Why it's an amazing thing to believe in God, because even if you take birth as an animal, you'll be able to remember at least one or two prayers that you were saying before. So now it says, Prabhupada says, it is imperative, therefore, that all devotees in Krishna consciousness practice chanting some mantra certainly one should chant the Hare Krishna mantra, which is the Maha Mantra or great mantra. And also, one should practice chanting Chintamani Prakarasadmasu, or Nishinga Shotram, Ito Nishinga Parato Nishingho Yato Yato Yamitato Nishingha. Now you know why we're chanting Brahma Samhita every day. So in your next life, if you become, or if I become an animal, at least we'll be able to remember something from our previous life by Krishna's mercy. And even as an animal, we'll be able to recite a prayer. Isn't that amazing? That's why you cannot be a loser in Krishna consciousness. It's impossible to be a loser. You can only be a winner. Whereas in material life, it's very possible to be a loser in while you're living and a loser after you die, right? So every devotee should practice in order to chant some mantra perfectly, so that even though he may be imperfect in the spiritual consciousness in this life, in his next life, he will not forget Krishna. He will not forget Krishna consciousness even if he becomes an animal. Of course, a devotee should try to perfect his Krishna consciousness in this life, for simply by understanding Krishna and his instructions, after giving up this body, one can return home back to Godhead. Even if there is some fall down, practice of Krishna consciousness never goes in vain. In other words, you can never be a loser. It's never in vain. Whereas an atheist or a demon, you're going to be a loser every time, you see. For example, Ajamila in his boyhood practiced chanting the name of Narayana. So what do the Sri Vaishnavas chant all the time? They always chant Om Narayana, Om Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. They're always chanting the name of Narayana, right? That's their mantra. Under the direction of his father. But later in his youth, he fell down and became a drunkard, woman hunter, rogue, and thief. Nonetheless, because of chanting the name of Narayana, Om Narayanayana, what's that mantra? How does he say it? Om Namo Narayanayana Namah. That's the mantra they chant, right? Is that it? Om Namo Narayanayana. Yeah. So, Ajamil in his boyhood practiced chanting the name of Narayana under the direction of his father, but later in his youth he fell down and became a drunkard, woman hunter, rogue, and thief. Nonetheless, because of chanting the name of Narayana for the purpose of calling his son, whom he had named Narayana, he became advanced even though he was involved in sinful activities. Therefore, we should not forget the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra under any circumstances. It will help us in the greatest danger, as we find in the life of Gajendra. Now, this is amazing. So we are so lucky to hear this today, right? We should have a celebration. We should celebrate this. This is amazing knowledge. That's why we should come every day to class, so we don't miss any of this nectar, right? So the next verse, it says, the king of the elephants, Gajendra, said, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the supreme person, Vasudeva. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the elephant, right, who's saying this. Because of him, this material body acts due to the presence of spirit, and he is therefore the root cause of everyone. He is worshipable for such exalted persons as Brahma and Shiva, and he has entered the heart of every living being. Let me meditate upon him. This is an elephant talking here. It's amazing. And Prabhupada writes, in this verse, the words etach chit atmakam are very important. The material body certainly consists only of the material elements. But when one awakens to Krishna consciousness, understanding, the body is no longer material, but spiritual. The material body is meant for sense enjoyment, whereas the spiritual body engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, A devotee who engages in the service of the Supreme Lord and who constantly thinks of Him should never be considered to have a material body. It is therefore enjoined, Gurusu Naramati. One should stop thinking of the spiritual master as an ordinary human being with a material body. Arche Vishnu Siladihi. Everyone knows that the deity in the temple is made of stone, but to think that the deity is merely stone is an offense. Similarly, to think that the body of the spiritual master consists of material ingredients is offensive. Atheists think that devotees foolishly worship a stone statue as God and an ordinary man as the Guru. The fact is, however, that by the grace of Krishna's omnipotence, the so-called stone statue of the deity is directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the body of the spiritual master is directly spiritual. A pure devotee who is engaged in unalloyed devotional service should be understood to be situated on the transcendental platform. Sagunum samatityaitam brahmabhuyaya kalpate. Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, verse 26. Let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity. So this is a type of paraphrase of the 4th chapter, 24th verse of Bhagavad Gita, which says, Brahmarpanam Brahmahavir, Brahmagno Brahmana Hutam, Brahmaiva Tena Gantavya, Brahma Karma Samadhina. This is 424. It says, a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Now, when you read the verse in the Bhagavad Gita, what I just read, it seems a little, let's say, difficult to understand. That's why Prabhupada gives alternate translations later on in his books. Right? So what is the alternate translation? It says, let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity. That's actually the paraphrase of what I just read. But unless you understand what I just read, you wouldn't understand that that's the paraphrase, but it is. So if you read the purport, though, see, and this is why it's not recommended that you hear things that are only verses without the purport. There are some devotees who do that. They only read the verses. It's very easy to misunderstand a verse. That's why Prabhupada gave a purport. So why would someone just read the verses and not read the purport? Because they don't understand what Krishna consciousness is all about. It's all about hearing, just like it says that there is Bhagavan, there is Sadhu, and there's Guru. So when you have bona fide Guru, the highest authority is hearing the words spoken by Krishna, repeated by previous acharyas, and explained by the Guru. That's the highest understanding that one can have. So it's not simply hearing the words of God himself or Krishna, because Bhagavad Gita is Krishna's words, right? You hear it, but sometimes you don't really understand what he's talking about. Just like this verse, a person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities in which the consummation is absolute and that which is offered is of the same spiritual nature. Well, some people say, well, I understand perfectly what it means. But when you read the purport, in the purport Prabhupada says, the Lord is spiritual and the rays of his transcendental body are called Brahma Jyoti. his spiritual effulgence. Everything that exists is situated in that Brahma Jyoti. But when the Jyoti, or light, is covered by illusion, Maya, or sense gratification, it is called material. This material veil can be removed at once by Krishna consciousness. Thus, the offering for the sake of Krishna consciousness, the consuming agent of such an offering or contribution, well, that would be Krishna himself. The process of consumption, the contributor, and the result are all combined together, Brahman, or the Absolute Truth. The Absolute Truth covered by Maya is called matter. In other words, when a person is engaging the body in sense gratification, it is Maya. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the Absolute Truth regains its spiritual qualities. So there it is right there. You can change matter into spirit. And also, you can experience spirit being changed to matter. Right? When one is engaging the body in sense gratification, it's material. When one is engaging the body in Krishna's service under the instructions of the bona fide spiritual master, it becomes spiritualized. This was impossible for materialistic people to understand, right? But it's a fact by this verse. Matter dovetailed for the cause of the Absolute Truth regains its spiritual quality. Krishna consciousness is the process of converting the illusory consciousness into Brahman, or the Supreme. When the mind is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness, it is said to be in samadhi or trance. Anything done in such a transcendental consciousness is called yajna, or sacrifice for the Absolute. In that condition of spiritual consciousness, the contributor, the contribution, the consumption, the performer, or leader of the performance, and the result or ultimate gain, everything becomes one in the Absolute, the Supreme Brahman. That is the method of Krishna consciousness. Okay, so therefore when we read this alternate translation, which says, let us therefore offer our obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by whose mercy so-called material things also become spiritual when they are engaged in spiritual activity. Haribol. So we heard two amazing things today. One is that even if one takes birth as an animal after being a devotee in the human form of life in previous time, it is possible, because one chanted Hare Krishna and chanted other Vedic mantras, to be able to remember those prayers that one said previously, even in the body of the animal. And secondly, it is possible to transform material things, like the material body, into a spiritual thing by the process of engaging in devotional service. We should never forget these two things, because this is the unique qualities attained by engaging in devotional service. Therefore, it's impossible to be a loser in Krishna consciousness. Impossible. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay. Oh, yes.
Maharaj, in the beginning you have explained devotees should live on some place where Krishna consciousness is convenient.
Yes. Very easily available. Yeah.
So if someone is living in a far place where it's not easily available,
Let's say you're living in southern Alabama.
so if that devotee is praying to Krishna that
Please let me go somewhere else where I can be easily Krishna conscious, associate with devotees.
is it a right prayer?
Yes. Yes. No, I'll give you an example. Like, I had a friend of mine, and he had a 7-Eleven store, because all the Punjabis tell each other, get a 7-Eleven store, you'll make money. Right? So all the Punjabis were buying 7-Eleven stores. So he's a Punjabi. So he also bought a 7-Eleven store. But then, you have beef jerky, and you have all these, you have beer, and you have pornographic magazines, and they sell anything in these stores, right? So, as this person I knew was becoming a little Krishna conscious, he was coming to the temple, and he would hear me give classes about how bad it is to eat meat, and how, you should never have a 7-Eleven store. So some Punjabis stopped coming because they didn't like to hear this, right? Because they had 7-Eleven. This guy, he caught on to it, right? So one day he came up to me and he said, "Look, Prabhu," he said, "I have a 7-Eleven store, and I realize it's a horrible thing, by listening to your lectures. So what should I do?" I said, "Well, I'll give you advice." I said, "I know a friend of mine, he's a Greek guy. He has a dairy company. He doesn't milk the cows or anything like that, but he buys the milk and he transforms it into butter, and he sells the butter. You get those little, small butter packages, in like a restaurant or something. That was his thing, And I said, he's got all the machinery, he's got all the customers, but he wants to sell it. Why don't you buy his company, and sell your 7-Eleven store and buy his company, and you go into the butter business. You're not dealing with meat anymore and liquor and all these things." He said, "Okay." He said, "That makes sense." So he contacted that Greek guy, but the Greek guy wanted too much money. So anyway, he sold his store, and he became a real estate agent. Right? So, and then after that, he made a lot of spiritual progress after that. A lot, and he's still, still my good friend. And he doesn't live so close, so he doesn't come that much to the temple. But I see him every once in a while, and he always thanks me. Because, I gave him the right advice. Get out of that situation. It's not. And the same thing with Dhananjaya. He was working in the what's the name of that store? I always forget bad things. He was working in the store where they sell tacos, the Taco Bell, right? He was working at Taco Bell, right? And he was handling meat every day. And he used to come, and I told him, I said, "You got to get out of that." I said, "You should get a job in a bank. You're not dealing with tacos, Well, anyway, he realized he has to get out of this job, so he did, and now he got this job in working for Bill Gates' nonprofit. So you see, if you are in a bad situation and you realize it, you pray to God and He'll help you get out of it, and get in a place where Krishna consciousness is easily available. Right? But you don't want to be like this other person I know who living in Bellevue. He moved over here to be able to come every day to the temple, and he started coming less than when he lived in Bellevue. So that would defeat the whole purpose, right? And people like that never make spiritual advancement, because they didn't actually take the advantage of living close to a temple. The idea is to come regularly to the temple. Right? Okay, so we'll stop right there. Thank you. Hare Krishna, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Okay, go ahead. Okay, we're going to chant into the microphone.
Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma
Bandhamui Savadhanamate
Bandhamui Savadhanamate
Bandhamui Savadhanamate
Jahara prasade bhai eva bato diya jai
Namaste Bhai Eva Vatoriya Jai
Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte
Krishna Bhakti Hoya Hoyte
Krishna prapti hoy jaha hoyte
Krishna Bhakti Hoya Hoyte
Shri Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Goriya Kya Padma Vakya Chitete Goriya Kya Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Arana Kori Ho Mane Asha
Arana Koriya Mane Asa
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttama Gati
Je prasade pure sarva asha
Ye pasade pure sarva asa
Je prasade pure sarva asha
Ye pasade pure sarva asa
चक्षुदान दिलो जाए जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु साए
चक्षुदान दिला जय जन्मे जन्मे बाबू से
चक्षुदान दिलो जाए जन्मे जन्मे प्रभु साए दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित दिव्य ज्ञान हृदय प्रकाशित प्रेम भक्ति जहाँ होते अविद्या विनाश जाते
भक्ति जाते आदि नाश Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nithai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nithai Gaura Hari Bol,
Hare
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nithai Gaura Hari Bol.
Jayo Vishnupad Paramahansa Pararajika Chastitara Saptarishi Shishimal. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sri Gahoshi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasudi Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shamakunda Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapura Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Tulasi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Gangamaya Ki Jai. Jamunamaya Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premananda. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shiguru and Shiguranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Vacharani Nivrisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarani Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we can attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to this lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is to perfection, fulfills all desires. He opens my darkened eyes and fills my heart with transcendental knowledge. He is my Lord, birth after birth. From him, ecstatic prema emanates. By him, ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master, the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord and master of devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread throughout all the three worlds. We take shelter of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, Patita Pavana Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutali Srimati Bhakti Swami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Guruvani Vacharani Visesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Vorpre